Okay, this is the STEM podcast for Chapter 4, Part 2. We just left off with the chromosome. Our next organelle we're going to define is the cytoplasm. The cytoplasm is the jelly-like fluid that's inside the cell. It is found in both plant and animal cells and prokaryotic cells. It looks like a jelly-like fluid. The actual fluid part of the cytoplasm has a special name. It's called cytosol, like solution of the cytoplasm. And inside the cytoplasm, there is actually a structure called cytoskeleton, which we'll do in a minute. The function of the cytoplasm is to hold all the organelles. All right, next organelle is the mitochondria. As you can see, the mitochondria is a small sausage-shaped or bean-shaped organelle. It has squiggly lines, which actually is a membrane. Because they have an outer membrane here in brown, and then they have the inner membrane here. And the inner membrane is all kind of interfolded here, and it has a special name called the cristae. The space in the middle of the mitochondria, and there's a lot of enzymes in there, that is called the matrix, and we'll get more into that when we do cellular respiration. Mitochondria are found in both plant and animal cells, and its job is cellular respiration. So it is supplying the cell with ATP energy through cellular respiration. Next organelle is the chloroplast. This chloroplast is really big here, but it's showing you all the details in the side. They do have an outer membrane right here in the dark green, and then they have an inner membrane here in the neon green. There is a space between those two membranes called the intermembrane space, and then you have different parts here as well. You have these green things inside that contain the chlorophyll. That's what makes a chloroplast green, and each one of those is called a thylakoid. Okay, so this is a thylakoid, 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 thylakoid. And notice they're all stacked. And the more you have, the more sunlight that the plant can get from these thylakoids. So a stack of them is called a grana or granum. And then there is, you don't worry about lamella or lumen. So chloroplasts are in only plant cells. They're green because of the chlorophyll. They're bean-shaped as well, kind of the same shape as a mitochondria. And they have stacks of these thylakoids inside them. And its function is to do photosynthesis, so to take carbon dioxide and water and create sugar. Our next organelle is called the Golgi Apparatus, the Golgi Complex, or the Golgi Body. Lots of different names for the same thing. The Golgi Body looks very similar to the ER that we did earlier, except it kind of looks more like, it's more tighter together, and it looks like pancakes sort of inside there. There are different ends to it. This end, which you're not going to be tested on, but there is a cis face to the Golgi apparatus. That is where the vesicles are coming to, and then the trans face, or this end of the Golgi apparatus, is when the vesicle will leave and go bring the protein to outside the cell, for example. So the Golgi apparatus is found in both plants and animal cells. And what they're doing is, we mentioned it earlier, they're receiving the protein from the vesicles that came from the RER. They take that protein, they package it all up, they figure out what the protein's purpose is going to be, and then they ship it out through another vesicle to where it needs to go in the cell, or it'll be shipped outside the cell. Okay? The next organelle is the cell wall. The cell wall is only in plant cells. As you can see, it's very thick, this green here, and then this is another cell's wall, and this is a different cell's wall right here, okay, because cell walls are next to each other from adjacent plant cells. They are made of cellulose, so they are made of a bunch of glucose molecules bonded together, which is a polysaccharide, which is the carbohydrate macromolecule. And its job is to protect the plant cell, okay? Peroxisome, I don't have a picture of it. It's just a small sac-like circular organelle that's found in both plants and animal cells, and it helps with detoxification. So it helps, like for you, if you get poisoned for some reason in your lifetime, the peroxisomes in your cells will help fight that off. Lysosomes are only in animal cells, but there are scientists that disagree, and so that is being studied still today. But here's a lysosome. It's very similar to other things in the cell, so it's kind of hard to see. But if you look inside a lysosome, you kind of see some stuff in there, and that stuff is kind of be like recycled old organelles, broken pieces, things that the cell does not need anymore. So the lysosome is going to take those things and break them down. So they're breaking down macromolecules. They're breaking down proteins, they're breaking down lipids, nucleic acids, and carbohydrates. So they're doing a lot of hydrolysis here, and so there are enzymes in there to help. So only animal cells for our purposes, for our book. That's what that book says. Small, sac-like, circular organelle breaks down macromolecules and recycles them. Cytoskeleton is found in the cytoplasm, if you remember. The cytoplasm has a structure. You can have microtubules in there, actin filaments, or intermediate filaments, okay? The microtubules are hollow. The actin filaments are not hollow and they're bendy. And then you have intermediate filaments, which are tough and they don't bend. And so they just look like long lines. They're found in both plant and animals in the cytoplasm. And they just allow organelles to move around. They allow the vesicles to move, and the ribosomes might be moving. Things are moving in the cells all the time, and they do that through these structures. Centrioles are made of microtubules. Those are the hollow ones of the cytoskeleton. And in animal cells only, they have these structures. They help with mitosis, so they help forming the spindle fibers, which we'll get into in trimester 2. And these microtubules are arranged in this circle structure. And there's usually 2 of them on the north and on the south ends of the cell, of animal cells only. The next one is the vacuole. For a plant cell, here's a plant cell right here. The vacuole is this large sac, and it says CV because it's called the central vacuole in a plant cell because it's the main structure in there. It's bigger than the nucleus. So plant cells and animal cells both have vacuoles, but plant cells is going to be huge and it's going to be called central vacuole, where an animal cell is going to be small, okay? And there's different types of them for an animal cell. Like this food vacuole is going to store food, and this vacuole's main concern is pumping out excess water that organism got. This is a paramecium here, which is a protist. Okay, so it is the storage of food, water, waste, pigments, and enzymes. Our next organelle is cilia. Cilia is in animal cells only, and these are the little hairs that you see on this paramecium, and it is used for movement. Flagella is the same thing as cilia. It is made of these proteins, and they're long hairs. Animal cells only, and this is a bacteria cell, for example, and it is also used for movement. And so you're going to get this picture of this animal cell in class, and then we're going to label the different parts to see if you can identify them, okay? And that ends our podcast.